Hi everyone, Carol here. Yeah, it's just me, your crazy loopy lady. Today's video, I am so excited to put this together, but this has been a long process for me. So in this video, I'm going to show you how I create wire palm fronds. So this particular frond that I'm showing you here, I used a, let me see, I see you, yeah I do, I see you. Okay, this is a 1-inch PVC pipe about 8-9 inches long. That's for this size. You know, when I'm creating something, I never create anything small. So, okay, so then the other PVC pipe that I use is a 3/4 inch PVC pipe, and you'll see me create this in this video coming up. And this, okay, so let me back up just for a second. This is a large palm frond, and when I'm creating large palm fronds, I have anywhere between 17 or 20, depending on what the tree is starting to look like when I put it together. So this is for a large tree. I'm talking about between 12 and 14 inches tall, about 17 to 20, 21. I like to use odd numbers, so let's say between 17 and 21 for this size. This is for the 1-inch PVC pipe. All right, this one that I have in the process is the 3/4 inch PVC pipe, same length, just 3/4 inch. All right, I wanted to get, so then that is this size. This is about a medium-sized tree between 8 and 12 inches, and I will create anywhere from 15 to 18 of these fronds. So in this video, I am just showing you how I create the palm fronds for a palm tree. This video, I'm using 22 gauge black copper wire, and the stems are a 20 gauge black wire. Also, my length on the wire is 24 inches long, and I will talk all about that. You'll see me doing mostly a talk through on this video, and also some time lapse. All right, I hope that you'll enjoy this video. Stay inspired, put me in the background, and if you're new to my channel, thank you for being here today. I really do appreciate you spending some time with me. There's a bunch of different playlists that you can go through. Put me in the background, get your project in front of you, enjoy doing your project, and watch this video, put it on pause, work on that project, come back and watch it again. Again, if you want to be inspired in creating wire trees, hit that subscribe button, and then you're that close, hit that bell button. That way you'll know when I'm popping back in for a brand new video for you to enjoy. So, on that note, let's get this video started. I hope that you'll enjoy. You have any comments, put them in the comments below, and I promise I do my best to get back to you as soon as possible with any questions that you might have. All right, let's get this started. Okay, here we go. I'm starting out with a 3/4 inch PVC pipe and 2 strands of 20 gauge black copper wire. Also, I have 22 gauge black copper wire, which I'm going to use for the fronds in this part of the video. These lengths are 24 inches long. What I'm doing here is taking my 8 pieces of 22 gauge wire, going up about 14 inches into my 2 pieces of 20 gauge wire, splitting the 8 wires into 4, and then wrapping the 4 wires with 1 strand of the 20 gauge and the other 4 wires with the other 20 gauge black wire, and twist them all together. Approximately 2 inches of wire that I'm using to twist together. All right, Carol, start twisting. This is a talk through, so I laugh at myself quite often, is because I am doing all of my work in real time. I try not to cut anything out. So seeing myself taking my time twisting the wire is like, I don't know. Okay, good job, Carol. You've got it all twisted. Now that I have it all twisted, what I want to do is take those 2 strands that I have. There's about 14 inches there. That's going to give me plenty of room for my trunk. We're doing a medium-sized tree. But I want to place those 2 black copper strands up into the PVC pipe on one end. And I'm going to even take some of the wire that I twisted and put that up into the PVC pipe also. Yes, Carol, it's all twisted real nice and tight. Put some of it into the tube. All right, this is like slow motion here. And then bend it parallel to the pipe so that some of the black twisted wire that you did is on the top of the PVC pipe. Now you see I have my 8 strands, and I also have my 2 pieces of the 20 gauge. Now the rest of this 20 gauge wire, yep, I'm holding it tight. Yep. Yes, and that's the extension from the wire that's coming out. Bending that over kind of locks that wire into place so it's not moving all over the place. All right, take those 2 20 gauge, Carol, and bend them over and stick them in the other side of your PVC pipe. That's why, depending on the size of my palm tree, I only go with maybe 8 or 9 inches in length for that PVC pipe. But yes, so now I have my 8 pieces of 22 gauge. I guess I'm just making sure that everything's locked in before I get started. All right, here we go. I want to take 1 strand, Carol, just 1 strand. Oh, okay. You've decided that you're going to what? Put that PVC pipe. Oh, okay. You're putting the 8 strands of black copper wire into the top of that PVC pipe also. All right. Well, maybe that makes sense. Let's see. All right. I honestly have to say, I don't know how important it is to put the 8 strands down into the PVC pipe, but yep, that's what I decided to do. I guess I'm thinking I'm going to have more control with the 8 strands that I have to work with. So I'm pulling And this is going to be totally up to you. Either you're going to pull from the right side or you're going to pull from the left side. It doesn't matter, but you want to try to keep your wire as uniform as possible. Now I want to lock my wire into place. All right. Yes, I did twist it about 2 inches at the bottom, but when I'm making these kind of loops, I want to make sure that all of my wires locked into place so that nothing comes out. So I'm taking this one strand, and I happen to pull that from the right hand side. I'm taking that one strand and I'm putting it between the PVC pipe underneath the two 20 gauge black wire, and I'm going to pull it all the way down. All right, pull it all the way down. I'm going to keep it nice and tight, and then if I'm correct, okay. I'm going to go and take that same piece in between now the 7 strands of 22 gauge black wire into the opposite direction. And I'm going to bring that wire down as far as I can. And now take that same piece of wire, go in the opposite direction behind the 20 gauge. All right, so I'm just taking the beginning, because when you first start out creating the palm frond, you're going to find that it's a little difficult till you get it started. So this is locking all of my wire into place and bringing the wire down as far as I can and pulling it nice and tight. Now I'm ready for that first loop. So all the way around the PVC pipe, over the black wire, and then under in the opposite direction, in between the PVC pipe and that 20 gauge black copper wire. That's the first loop. All right, now Carol, show everybody, you pull it down nice and tight. Get that first loop. The first loop usually is the hardest one. And then you want to lock that loop into place. All right? Evidently, I'm having some issue with it. All right, yeah, it's locked into place, Carol. All right, now take that strand and don't make another loop. You want to lock that loop that you just made in place. So you're taking your black wire and putting it behind the 20 gauge wire and the PVC pipe. So you're doing one wrap around the PVC pipe, one wrap around the wire. Now you're ready for your second loop. Around, all the way around the PVC pipe. Okay? Bringing that strand in between the PVC pipe and the black wire. Pulling it through. and pushing the wire down as far as it will go, laying next to the wire that's below, not on top, but next to. Pull it nice and tight, and then you want to lock that loop into place. Bring your black wire in between the PVC pipe and the 20 gauge wire, laying that right next to the piece of wire that you just laid down. That locks your loop in place. So now it's just a complete continuation over and over and over again. This is just me being in silence, watching what I'm doing and explaining. So I made another loop. I'm locking that one into place. I'm making sure that my wires are laying right next to each other, not on top of each other. Another loop. All the way around the PVC pipe, bringing my wire through in between the PVC pipe and the wire, laying that wire right down next to the one that I just did, and then locking that loop into place. Now you can see when I'm using a 24-inch length piece of 22 gauge wire that I'm slowly going to run out of that wire. My wire is getting shorter. I think I can get maybe one more loop out of that one. And then locking that one in place. Always pulling everything nice and tight. And I use PVC pipe because it's easier to maneuver off after the frond is complete. Okay. Now I'm ready for this second strand. Pulling that one again from the right side, I'm bringing it over to the left. Pulling it nice and tight and making sure that that wire is laying next to what I have just completed. Locking that into place. Now I'm ready to start my next strand of loops. It's a slow process. I would say each frond, once you get the hang of it, takes about 20 minutes. Could be a little bit longer, and that depends on how many pieces of wire you decide on using. Like I said, for this particular one, I'm using 8 strands of 22 gauge wire. If I'm making a larger palm tree, then I use between 10 and 12, sometimes 14 strands for each frond. But we're making a medium-sized palm tree, so this is only 8 strands of the 22 gauge black. And you can use any color. It just happens to be that I'm using black 22 gauge wire on this palm tree. I'm going to do this a few more times. Always remember, loop, then lock. Loop, then lock. You'll understand why as we go into the next step of creating this palm tree. But you can see that I am finished with that second strand, and I'm bending it up into place. I don't cut any of that off. That gives me a stiffer stem, which allows the frond to be sturdy and not lose its shape. So here we go. This is the third piece of wire. I'm going to lock it in place, making sure that my wire is sitting right next to the one that I just did, and start creating my loops. Bringing that wire through behind the black wire in between the PVC pipe. This is where I went into time lapse. So always remember, loop and lock, all the way till you get to the very end of all of the wires, the 22 gauge wires, till you get to the point where you don't have any more 22 gauge wire left. Just about done. All right, now I'm using the very last 22 gauge black wire, and I want to make sure that I'm getting behind all of that black wire. I don't want any little pieces of wire sticking out of the bottom of my frond. So I'm slowing down, making sure that that tiny little piece of wire is all wrapped up in the next loop that I'm creating. And I'm going to start to lock that in place. Double checking that tiny little piece of wire. And I'm knotting, making that last loop. Got all of those little pieces of wire tucked in. And I'm going to go around a few more times. See that? I'm just rewrapping all of that wire. And then going in between the wires to really lock everything in. Because the last thing I want to do is lose any of the shape of the loops that I've just created. At the very end now, I want to take my pliers and pull that tiny piece of wire, make sure everything is nice and tight. Pull out the wires that I have left. There you go. Now this is going to be scrap wire. I'm going to take the pieces of wire that I have here and I'm going to twist all of that a couple of times. And then just to tighten everything up, I'll take my pliers and give it a couple twists. Looks good. All right, now I want to get my wire cutters and snip all of that off. Good job, Carol. Nice and clean. Now to pull out the long piece of the 20 gauge, 2 pieces of 20 gauge black copper wire out of the other side of the PVC. Okay, you can talk. Pulling out the 2 strands of 20 gauge copper wire out of the other side of the PVC pipe. This wire I'm going to use for the trunk when I'm creating the palm tree. Now that I got that out, the idea is all of the wire that you made your loops with is to slowly move it up to the other end of your PVC pipe. See, using the PVC pipe, because it's plastic, it allows me to move that wire pretty smoothly. Okay, this is the next step on creating that frond. So slowly move the loops off the top of the PVC pipe. And you're going to take one loop, the top one, you're going to make it look like a loop, put it between your fingers and twist it. At least 3 half turns. Why? Of course, let me tell you why. Because when you twist wire 3 half turns, you lock it into place. Then take the next loop and put it on the other side. So you're going to be rotating loops, twisting each loop at least 3.5 turns. You don't have to do any more than that, and you're going to get this effect. It looks like bumblebee wings. So alternate back and forth, left and right, until you get all the way through all of your loops. And because you took the time to lock each loop, they are not going to come apart. You won't have just one big loop. So if you didn't lock any of your loops as you're taking it off the PVC pipe, you will take notice that you've got one really big loop. All right. So this is the process, alternating loops on each side of the vein that you're creating for your palm frond. All right, I think that you're getting the concept. So alternating loops, twisting them tightly, 3.5 turns. And as you can tell, you probably can tell, I stepped outside. Absolutely a beautiful evening, so I wanted to take advantage of that while talking through this video. This all looks good. I think I'll go into time lapse. All right, this is time lapse, me alternating the loops for the palm frond. I have to think about how I say that, because otherwise I kind of mess it up. But anyway, getting down to the bottom, just about done. And it's coming into shape. You'll have to tell me what you think in the comments below. Now I have the palm frond totally off the PVC pipe, and I'm just pulling out the loops for the next step. Taking shape, looks good. This is going to be used for my trunk. All right, now, when I create my palm fronds, I use this, I think it's called a ring splitter. It splits the jump rings. It has a tiny little hook on it, and I use the bottom of the hook, holding it downward, and I put that hook into the loop and I pull it straight out. Okay, Carol, pull it straight out. There, just like that. I do that for every single loop. Now, you don't absolutely have to have these kind of pliers, but it does help and it makes the job go a little bit easier. If not, use your needle nose pliers and very carefully pull on the loops to get this shape. You're going to go around to every single loop and do this. And this will now start to bring your palm frond into shape. A little bit faster movement, not quite time lapse, because I do want it to give you the idea is that I do every once in a while want to make sure that all of the loops that I'm pulling out stay uniform. Like what I'm trying to say is to keep them in order. All right, now the other side. Doing the same thing, taking those jump splitter wire pliers and pulling out the loops. Second last loop, finish it off. All right, this is what we have so far. Next and last step for the palm frond. All right, using my jump ring splitter wire pliers, I'm going into each of the long loops that I created. And because there's a small gap in this jump ring splitter, all I do is grab a hold of the whole thing and move it towards the top of the ring and pinch it. Now you can do this with the regular pliers, but because I have this tool, this is what I enjoy or love using because it just makes the whole process a little bit easier. I'm trying to keep my loops not twisted but just pointed at the ends, and you're going to do this all the way through this palm frond. So squeezing it, kind of pulling it, and making a point at the end. Time for a little bit of time lapse, getting this through, going down each edge, and there you have it. Well, there you go, everybody. That is the palm frond that I create. Like I said, there are so many different artists out there that do their different techniques. This is just the technique that I use. Now that the frond is complete, I want to look at the vein and decide which is going to be the bottom of the frond or the top of the frond, and then just shape it. I'm using the palms of my hands, bending in the needles of the palm frond, just playing with the wire. And that's about it. Now, all you have to do is repeat. I hope that you will give me some of your insights by commenting below in the comments and let me know what you think of this technique. Is this a technique that you would try for your next palm tree? I would love to know. Inquiring minds want to know. There you go. All done. Now, if you're interested in adding color to the frond, I'm only going to add 2 different colored wires. So now I have 6 black 22 gauge and 2 copper 22 gauge, along with my 20 gauge that I'm going to use for the stems of the tree. All these wires are 24 inches long. I'm going to go up about 12, 14 inches for my stem of the palm frond. Split my wires into 4 and 4, and my 2 strands of 20 gauge wire into each other and twist them together about 2 inches. All right, 2 inches kind of locks all of that wire into place and gives that stem a little bit of stability in that twisting. After twisting that wire, I'm taking the long part of the stem, putting it into the PVC pipe, and about an inch bent into the PVC pipe where I twisted the wire. So about a thumb's width, about an inch. Okay? And then taking the other 2 20 gauge strands and putting that to the top of the pipe. And that piece that's sticking out, I bend that under also. No, Carol, you didn't bend it over. Okay. This is the fun part about talk-throughs. I am literally talking through what I'm seeing to share with you. All right, so I have decided to do all of my black wire first. So I'm going to lock my first loop, make sure that it's locked, bringing my wire through the PVC pipe and the wire, pulling it down, this first one is always the toughest one to do, and I think that is no matter what you're starting, that first one to get everything started is the hardest one. But Carol, you're going to go through one more time, lock it into place, bringing that wire down as far as it'll go. All right. What, Carol? You're doing it a third time? Okay. Let's do this the third time. Bringing your wire down and locking it in place. All right, now we're getting into the loops. Okay. So like I said, I decided to do the black first, and then at the tip of the palm frond is where I'm going to add the color. Always remember, loop and lock. Loop and lock, loop and lock. Let's say it together now. Loop and lock. All right. Now that I got my loop started, it's so much easier to control the wire. And going into time lapse, just to move this forward, always remembering to loop and lock your wires, loop and lock your wires, loop and lock, loop and lock. Okay, using that very last black piece of wire, making that last loop, locking it into place. And now when adding the colored wire, no matter what color you're using, I'll be using the copper 22 gauge. You're just going to continue on what you were doing before with the black wire, but now you're adding the color. Like I said, this was 6 strands of 22 gauge and 2 strands of the copper 22 gauge at lengths of 24 inches long. Okay, and just continuing on, when I'm adding color, and you don't have to, this is just for, an extra thought if you want to add color. The next frond that you would make, using 8 strands of one color, then 6 strands of one color and 2 of your new color, then the next frond would be 4 strands and 4 strands of the 2 different colors. Then it would be 2 and 6 strands. And then the last frond would be a total color of the opposite one that you were creating. This really makes a cool effect on a palm tree. I'm just continuing on here and talking this through, hoping that you're enjoying, getting some benefit on when you decide to create your next palm tree. Finishing up the copper loops, and now I want to twist all of that wire together. I'm going to lock that last loop in place, but I want to make sure that I don't have any of those tiny little pieces of wire sticking out like I showed you a few minutes back. When you're getting to the top, you have those extensions that we put up because you don't have enough wire to finish off a loop. This just keeps the stem stronger when you're finishing up the top of that frond. I have this last piece of copper that I want to get in, and you can see I've got these tiny little pieces of wire here. I want to make sure that I'm covering all of that up as I'm going to create that next loop. Okay, having just a little bit of an issue with those tiny little pieces of wire. I want to make sure that I'm covering them up, placing that wire right next to the one that's below, pulling it tight. Yep, looks good. Lock that loop into place. Yeah, this one is coming together really nice. Locking it into place, loop and lock, loop and lock. Those tiny little pieces of wire that are sticking out, I want to make sure that I'm wrapping around them. Lock that into place. Getting towards the end here. So, was this a benefit to everyone that is watching? Will you create a palm frond? Creating for a medium-sized frond, 8 strands should do it. If you're looking for a larger frond, you probably want to do 10. If you're looking to do large, I would even go as far as 12 and 14. But then I would use a larger 1-inch PVC pipe instead of the 3/4 inch PVC pipe. Okay, getting to the very top of that. Nice and tight. And then I want to lock all of that into place. Everything is just about done. Looks good. All right. Repeat, repeat, repeat. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Okay, that was a lot of talk through, but I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope that you continued to be inspired to creating something different. This video just being for the palm fronds. Hopefully in the near future I will be able to put the whole tree together and show you how I accomplish that. Thank you so much again for spending your afternoon. I need my coffee and it's way over there. I'm not gonna go walk off camera and come back. Yes, where was I? Sorry. Shh. Okay. Thank you again for spending your afternoon, your evening, or your early morning with me. It's been greatly appreciated. Hope that you enjoy, and hope that you'll enjoy. Have an awesome day, and we will talk soon.